Hey everyone, I'm currently testing this 2020 Infiniti Q50 400 Red Sport all-wheel drive. Quick aside here, I'm editing this video and I just realized that throughout the entire thing, I refer to this car as the Infiniti Q50 400 Red Sport, when in fact it is called the Q50 Red Sport 400. To a point I make later in the video, nowhere on this car does it actually say what it is. So yeah, but for the record, Infiniti Q50 Red Sport 400. And what's especially interesting here is that Nissan has recently revealed the next generation Z prototype. It's most likely to be called the 400Z when it goes into production. And that 400 number comes from the fact that it will likely use the engine that you find in the Q50 400 Red Sport here. It's a twin turbo 3-liter V6. It sends power, in this case, to a 7-speed automatic transmission, but Nissan has already made it known that the next generation Z will come with a 6-speed manual, in addition to probably an automatic that'll be optional, and it'll most likely be this 7-speed torque converter that you get in the Q50 Red Sport here. So I thought I would do a quick kind of walk around of this thing. It's kind of weird. Nissan hasn't really paid too much attention to Infiniti in the last decade, so this thing feels kind of dated. It feels like an afterthought in a lot of ways. They probably wanted to compete with, in a perfect world, the Mercedes C-Class, Audi A4, BMW 3 Series, but not quite probably, although it is in that class in terms of size. So let's do a quick tour of this thing, but what I really want to get into is the engine, so we're going to take it on a drive up the canyon, and I'll hopefully be able to give you a little glimpse into what it'll be like to drive the new 400Z. So here's a look at the Q50 without me in the frame. It's a pretty sharp design. It's been out for a few years now. So the 400 Red Sport is the most performance-leaning trim level of the Q50. It's the top trim. This one stickers for about $60,000, although you probably wouldn't pay that if you were to buy one of these, mainly because they aren't exactly the hottest compact luxury sedan on the market these days. Something really weird right off the bat that I noticed. So Infiniti years ago tried to make IPL their like BMW M competitor brand, or Mercedes AMG level performance brand. Infiniti appears to have abandoned that as their performance brand. And based on the name of this one, you would think that 400 or Red Sport would be their new performance brand, but nowhere on this vehicle is there a 400 or a Red Sport badge. So up on the fenders here, you've got an S for some reason. Couldn't tell you why. There isn't an S in the name of this vehicle. And then on the back here, there's an S also. So all-wheel drive and then an S. So if you were to look at this tailgate, you'd think that this is a Q50S all-wheel drive, but in reality what you're looking at is a Q50 400 Red Sport all-wheel drive. Really doesn't make much sense. Colors are really nice deep red. Climb inside here and you can see this thing uses Infiniti's latest update, at least with regard to dashboards and infotainment systems. So it's this two-tiered screen here. Sounds pretty good when you start it up, but it's a two-tiered screen. This screen feels like it's from 2018, 2019. It's pretty modern, pretty sharp. And then you get up to this screen and it feels like it's from about 2009. It's lower resolution. It doesn't use the same color palette. You can see this one's even a glossy finish and this one's a matte finish. So right off the bat, it's kind of weird in here. This feels like an afterthought, really. It's not exactly cohesive. You move around the rest of the interior and you get kind of the same feeling. The seats are nice. You've got these extendable thigh supports. There's diamond stitching right here. Several different surfaces over on the door panel there. Looking at this door panel, I recently tested a 2020 Nissan Versa, and this is the exact same switchgear used in the Versa, except it has chrome trim around here. And if you look back, this switchgear has been used on vehicles as far back as the 2013 Ultima. So nothing real special about this switchgear here. Feels pretty dated, honestly. And that's kind of the theme with the rest of the interior here. Nissan just hasn't put much effort into Infiniti in recent years. I don't know if this brand will be around 10 years from now. Either way, plenty of power in this thing. It's quick. 0 to 60 is quoted at 4.5 seconds. So without, well, yeah, I don't think I'm even gonna try to climb in the back seat, but there's not a whole lot of room back there. There's the back seat. Yeah, let's get out on the road. Okay, driving the Red Sport here. I have to admit, it has now been a few days since I recorded the first part of this video because I really had to drive this thing and spend a few days behind the wheel before I felt like I could give it a fair assessment. And that's because this car kind of has two different personalities. As far as the tangible stuff goes, like the design and the infotainment and some of the decisions on the outside and with the branding and stuff, yeah, suffice to say it's a little bit lacking. But as far as the powertrain goes and the on-road personality of this thing, it's pretty awesome. This engine's awesome, and assuming it carries over to the 400Z relatively unchanged, that vehicle will probably be pretty impressive. So yeah, let's set off here. We've got a few different driving modes. There is standard, sport, and then a sport plus. There are also eco, snow, and personal modes. We are in sport plus. There's 50. Yep, it's fast. Definitely really fast. So let's go back to standard. The exhaust does get a little bit louder when you shift it into Sport Plus. There's normal. Sport Plus, it holds the gear a little bit higher. Yeah, a little bit throatier in Sport Plus. This thing is always ready to go though. We'll put it in Eco. Yeah. So throttle response is a little bit slower in Eco, but give it a second and a half, and once again, you're getting all 400 horsepower. So this engine makes 400 horsepower and 350 pounds-feet of torque, twin turbo V6. There's a less powerful version of this engine that makes 300 horsepower, and that's offered in more mainstream trim levels of the Q50. The most powerful version of the 370Z right now is the Nismo model, and that makes 350 horsepower and fewer than 300 pounds-feet of torque. So going from that engine to this engine is going to be a significant jump. I mean, you're looking at least 50 horsepower. I think normal 370Zs make about 336 horsepower, I think. So that right there is a 65 horsepower jump, call it, and then about a 75 pounds-feet of torque jump as well. So that'll be a significant upgrade over the current 3.7 liter V6 that you get in the 370Z. Another cool thing about the 400Z is that it'll be offered with a 6-speed manual transmission. This car just comes with a regular old 7-speed automatic, not a dual clutch or anything. Pretty familiar transmission, but you cannot get a 6-speed manual in this car. I'm kind of surprised. If it bolts right up, you'd think they'd offer this with a manual as a way to kind of differentiate it. The 400Z will be available with an automatic. It'll be optional, and you have to think that it'll probably be the same transmission, same 7-speed auto that you get in this thing. This thing's pretty hardcore. Hats off to Nissan and Infiniti. They don't really market this car very well. It doesn't have strong branding. Infiniti started off with IPL as their performance brand. There was a G37 Coupe IPL years back that stood for Infiniti Performance Line, and then a few years ago they had the Q50 Rogue concept, which used the engine out of the GTR, and now they've got this 400 Red Sport. They've really been all over the place with their performance branding, and they've never actually established a strong performance brand like you get from Audi with its RS line, like you get from BMW with M, like you get from Mercedes-Benz with AMG. Infiniti just doesn't really have it. All right, so there's my evaluation of the engine in the Q50 400 Red Sport here. Assuming this is the power plant that goes under the hood of the new 400Z, yeah, I think that car is going to be in a really good place. Nissan has had a rough go of it over the past decade, and after spending a week with this thing, I can say that this engine is probably one of the best things the company has going for it as far as combustion engines go. Really excited to see what happens with the new 400Z. I'm excited to drive it because if this vehicle is any indication, it'll probably be pretty good. Thank you for watching.